Carl's Doomsday scenario. Let's talk about it. I have mixed feelings about this one. First book was so much better. Let's just get it out there. But I think that this book deserves a little bit of praise. It's better than most books out there. I mean, it's good. It's just not as good as the first one. So let's talk about the things that did work in this book. To start, Donut, it's absolutely insane. And I love it. It's just one of those characters that just, whenever you're reading about it, it's just like you have a smile on your face. You know that you're enjoying it. It's a pleasure reading when Donut's there. The world building is top notch. Still good. Love it, love it, love it. I like that it's crystal clear. I like that the rules are crystal clear. They're not wishy-washy all over the place. That's something I appreciate because it doesn't boggle the narrative down, you know, the explanation stuff. Even like I think Mordecai is essential, and he's still Mordecai, and it's always fun to have him around explain things. When Mordecai explains how this world works, it doesn't feel like he's explaining, which I think is hard to do. And I think that Mr. Dinneman got better at it as he wrote this book, that there's less tidbits of rules that things are going to happen later on and more about the now, which is great. That's great. The pacing in this one, I thought it was better than the first one, but still there is some kind of foggish things. We'll talk about it later. And the tidbits of backstory that we get are not overwhelming, and they actually add to the story. And that's something rare. In some book, this little balance is hard. Sometimes they hit you with a whole entire paragraph of backstory and then another, or they just don't really add to the characters. I'm looking at you, Oathbringer. This is rare. This is a rare balance because some books take it to the extreme where it just ends up rewriting the whole character that you thought you knew. And sometimes it rewrites it in a good way. Sometimes it rewrites it in a bad way. A lot of us feel that way with, like, for example, Oathbringer. But that's neither here nor there. The tidbits of information of backstory that we get here add to the character's development, which make it a really good thing, especially the ones they're interacting with Donut. I'm enjoying the whole Donut thing. Like, I don't know why. I've never been a cat person, but now I might be a cat person. I don't know. By cat person meaning I like cats. Okay. And one of the things that I appreciate in this book that kind of made it enjoyable more so than the first was the humor in it, that is not so absolutely good. I don't know how to explain that. I'm lacking words in my dictionary. The humor in the first book, like, you really have to take it in the chin, I guess, and sometimes suck it up because it's just so over the top. But the humor in the second book is more often, and it lands better. It's smoother sailing for the humor in the book, which is something I appreciated. It made me feel like I'm reading a humorous book that's not trying too hard, or is not being overly gruesome or overly garish about it. The last thing that I liked about this book is that the series just felt phenomenally more bigger. The scopes are so much bigger than just one small dungeon. I mean, it's a world dungeon, there's nothing small about it, but it still feels bigger. It feels intergalactic. And I like that. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the interviews. I enjoyed mess they got themselves into. So yeah, this is the good parts of the book. So now for the bad parts. And for this, I have to get into spoilers. Spoiler warning. Okay? So if you're thinking about reading this book, yes or no, I say yes, go read it. It's not as good as the first book, but you still will enjoy it. And strangely, I have to find myself recommending this book even though I didn't enjoy it as much as the first, just because I think that it's good. It's better than other books. So it's just not as good as the first one. I hope that doesn't discourage you into going more into the dungeon. So if you haven't read this book, you should. It's part of the process. It's part of walking to the next bridge. I've read and I've seen videos about other people saying that the later books are much better than the first, and I am hoping that's the case. As far as this one goes, it's a good read. So spoilers. What didn't work? What didn't work? The first thing that comes to mind is the fog. There's a lot of fog, unfortunately, in this book. It was a little bit rushed due to the success of the first one. And the fog is very present. Sometimes you find yourself thinking like, okay, what are we doing here exactly? Where is this place? Where is Carl standing? What is happening? And it's very evident that it's there, and I don't think you could do anything about it. I've this is the first book in the series that I find myself going back to read parts thinking that I have missed something and I didn't. It's not there, and that creates fog. Sometimes it's the reader's fault, sometimes it's the author's fault that the author thinks that the reader has a clear picture, but we really don't. I think we were pampered in book 1 about how the writer went about writing the different scenarios and the different locations and everything else. In book 2, it was more about character development, more so than book 1, and it kind of like we're missing that in book 2. There was a lot of fog for me. I couldn't really get into some of the scenarios that we're in. So yeah, fog is not a good thing. I mean, at least for me, there was fog. To add to the fog, the circus theme that we're in didn't really cut it for me. I felt like the author was being overly creative in a bad way. There is a bear on skates with worms as hands and a scalped head. I don't feel like there's any need for that. I think a bear would have been fine on skates. Well, with a tutu, it had a tutu also. Like, I get what he was trying to do, but it feels like over the top sometimes. Like, you know, the evil circus from your nightmares kind of a thing. That's what he's trying to do. But some of the designs of the characters feel random. They feel like he's just thinking about what is the most gruesome thing that he could design, and he will design that on text. And I get wind of that, and it doesn't really land with me. Like, you could let me know in the comments if you like that bear. I'm pretty sure some of you guys do, but for me it didn't stick quite the landing. It would have been better if the theme would have been like, you know, instead of extreme, add a little bit of something we're expecting kind of thing, not just randomly weird for no reason. It would be good if it was weird for a reason, but for weird for no reason kind of gives you the sense of that the author is just putting together a piece of puzzles that don't really fit. Another thing that I didn't like about this book is that we were in the same level for the whole book. The entirety of the book, we were in the same dungeon floor. We do progress in the last chapter towards another floor, but that kind of breaks the routine of the first book where we progress 3 floors. Here we only progress 1, and it felt like we were super stuck. Drains the excitement because I think of the side quest. The side quest in this book, which is 2, are so you know, like the author talks about how useless the side quest equipment is, that it's not worth doing, that you should not get on a side quest. He spends a very big time talking about that, and guess what? The characters go into a side quest, not once but twice. I mean, what else are they gonna do in the level, I guess? So that itself makes you feel like you're just wasting time. where they could have been leveling up or, getting ready to go to the next floor or something better than that. I just felt like I was robbed together with Carl and Donut in the side quest. Like, both of the side quests were unintentional and both of them didn't have great rewards. I don't remember. I think the first one might have had a good reward, but the second one surely did not. I know that side quests are necessary, especially in RPG, but like at least give good rewards. This felt like this had the same feeling as when you're playing Zelda Breath of the Wild and you're collecting the Korok seeds, and there's 900 of them, and by the end of collecting all the seeds, you get the big giant golden poop. That had the same feeling, like all that work for nothing. Like, I get it that the developers is trying to be funny, and I get that Matt also is trying to be funny by saying, haha, look at where they got themselves now. I told them that the side quests suck, but they didn't listen, or they ended up there. And I know it's supposed to be funny, but it doesn't really land. It doesn't land because you're just feeling like you're wasting time where they could be upgrading their skills. They do get upgraded in the side quest. It just, again, goes away from book one, which is the established routine kind of thing that Matt had going for it. And I think that's it. That's all the bad things that I have to say about this book. The rest is all good. It's a phenomenal book. I don't think a lot of authors can do what Matt Dinniman is doing, and I applaud the man. This was definitely a rush book, and it has to be said. I mean, you can disagree with me all day long, and I welcome it, but this is how I felt about the book, and I just want to share it with you guys. See what you guys think. Maybe you guys have a different insight into this that you could tell me. But as far as this is not a review goes, the score I give for this book is a big fat 14. The previous book had gotten a 26. This has a 14. And let's go through it. So, jaw-dropping moments. There's about 3 good jaw-dropping moments that I was like, oh, emotional impact. It's raging is good. Side quest characters. Donut is just amazing. The book feels empty without Donut. I don't think that this book would have been successful without the cat. World building is just also great. I everything is clear, crystal clear. The picture that the author is painting is great. Cinematic vibes. I totally think this could still be a series. I hope it's a series and not a movie. Like, this is not for movie. This should be a series. The negative parts about this book, did the book drag? No, not really. Was there awkward dialogue? Yes. There was one in particular awkward dialogue. Has to count for 2 points on this, and that's when Carl is defeating the circus boss. I just could not believe it. It was a stretch. It was a stretch for me to believe the whole Carl speech, and that I never thought that Carl was kind of a intellectual person. So it just feels very out of place. It feels like kind of like an ex machina kind of thing. Fog. There is 4 points for that because I got confused. It is confusing fog. Bad decisions. Yes. I know that it's the funny thing to make bad decisions, but there were some bad decisions that kind of ruined the vibe of the book. So, for sort of say. Logical gaps, only I took just one just because of the big leaps. You have to kind of assume that the author has a good idea about where this thing is going. That's it. I just left it. I could have removed that, but I have to call it out. So I added this last part that tells you how hard is it to read a book. Some books are really hard, some books are really easy. That doesn't mean anything. It does not mean anything. There are some very hard books that are 5 stars, and there are some very easy books that are 5 stars. But I just kind of want to give you guys the gauge, how I gauge this book, how easy it is to read, and it's almost at popcorn mode. It's great. I would say it's a 20% difficulty compared to other books in reading, and I actually like that. So that's all I have to say about Carl Doomsday Scenario. This is a certified banger. It's good. Do it. Read it. You will enjoy it. You will probably enjoy it more than me. If you're not a picky reader, this is great. If you're a picky reader, I would say still read it.